Let's dive in. Welcome, welcome. I am so excited to be here with you for our Intro to Self-Love Coaching mini course. This experience is going to be with you over the course of the next 4 days, but we're doing 3 trainings. We're taking Thanksgiving off. We're in the US, so we have Thanksgiving. But we're going to be going over so many amazing things. Today, we're doing our self-love foundations. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about what it means to actually make a career out of coaching. And then Friday, we're going to be talking about manifesting your dream life, really bringing it all together. So today, we're going to be doing self-love foundations. I cannot wait to share with you this framework that I created after several years of working with clients, going on my own self-love journey. It is totally life-changing. I was just on a call with coaches in training working on it. And it really affirmed to me coming into our call today how powerful this work is. So, okay, I'm seeing London. Let me know where you're from in the comments. I want to connect with all of you. Toronto, Alberta, Canada, LA, Mississippi, Ashley from Cleveland. The other thing is I want to make sure that you're staying on till the end because I'm going to be doing a special giveaway that's going to be really exciting as a gift for you all who are here live. Pennsylvania, this is so wonderful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn off my music because I want to dive in to the actual training itself. If we haven't met before, some of you are new here. If we haven't met before, my name is Melanie Monaco, and I started coaching after years of being on my own self-love journey. It originally started as a journey of wanting to change the way my body looked. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. The lifelong yo-yo dieting cycle, hating the way I looked in the mirror. It really started as a physical journey. And I had an awakening after years of disordered eating when I realized I don't have to hate myself. I can actually choose a different path. I was lucky enough to have a mom who's a yoga teacher. So through going to yoga classes with her and being immersed in spiritual work with my great uncle who was a shaman, I had this benefit of being exposed to pathways of healing. And it was in those experiences that I had revelations. And after that point, I started gathering trainings more for myself. I thought I wanted to teach yoga like my mom, but more as like just for fun, like side hustle. But then I ended up being as a teacher in yoga classes. I was doing more group fitness. I was doing this full-time living in New York City. And then I started having conversations with my students after class and realized that I was actually more interested in that than instructing the poses. So at first I was a health coach when I was working with clients on their relationship to their body and food, which I myself had my lived history with, realized that they already knew like what to eat and how to treat their bodies, but the issue was in their relationship to their bodies. Like, how can we shame ourselves into change? We can't. And hate is not the pathway forward. So I started doing self-love work. After doing this for a time with clients, it was so transformational. My career was starting to take off. I was doing the digital nomad thing where I was traveling all over Europe, seeing clients. It was amazing. Loved that time in my life. I had one woman in particular who asked me to mentor her. And she's like, I want to do the work that you do. And I was like, well, here's all the trainings and certifications and years and thousands of dollars I spent to do it. She's like, well, can't you just mentor me? And so then the idea for the self-love coach certification began. The self-love coach certification program, which we're doing like a very highlighted version of in this mini training. We're the first ever self-love coach certification program. I started this program in March of 2020. And at that time, you all know what the world was like. And it really took off because everybody was thinking about, oh, what is my life's purpose and what am I doing here? We're all in this collective trauma together. How do we move through this? How do I move forward? I have this time on my hands. How do I figure it out? So in the 3 years that we've been doing this, we've worked with hundreds of coaches. We've had hundreds of graduates. My business has totally transformed because I thought that I was going to be working with clients, but now I'm supporting a lot of business owners and coaches in training, and doing a lot of spiritual work too. I have a guided rituals membership, which is like kind of like guided meditations, except a little more. It's just more, it's deeper. And I also have a ritual facilitator training coming up in the new year as well. So I'll talk about that later, but that's a little bit of the history of what got me to this place today. Since I started my coaching business, I've had some of the most profound and challenging things happen in my life. I got married, bought a house, became a mom, have experienced tremendous losses in my family, losing my own mom and grandmother. I've experienced trauma, as many of you have. And I want to share this with you all to let you know that the path of self-love coaching is one that will carry you through, or self-love in general, the path of self-love is one that will carry you through the most transcendent, magical moments in life and the most heartbreaking moments in life. And it is, it's something that I've become increasingly grateful for as time has gone forward. And I'm so excited to share this with you. So back when I started coaching, when I was living in New York City, now I live in Maine. I'm currently in California, where I grew up visiting family. But back when I was first coaching, I started working with clients on their relationships to themselves, when I started putting the pieces together of what I was actually doing. And I found there was some similarities in the journeys for people. And I was preparing for a workshop, and that workshop was like Self-Love 101. And as I was preparing for it, I was looking at the clients that I had worked with, and the steps that they all seem to go through, the different phases they all seem to go through in their journeys. And I, for this workshop, wrote the Self-Love Roadmap. And it was this like brilliant download aha moment that has completely changed the trajectory of my business, because now this framework I've been teaching for years, and it's hundreds of graduates of self-love coaches have worked with their clients on this, and they've gone out to share this with people. So it's really, it's profound. It's 5 steps. I call it the self-love roadmap, though some of our coaches call it the self-love cycle, the path to self-love. You call it whatever you want. It's 5 steps. And they seem simple, but when you put them together, they're transcendent. And I want to hear from, because I see people here who've gone through our courses and trainings. I want to hear from you what the self-love roadmap has meant to you. And in the comments, let me know what that experience has been like for you. So, okay. The first step of the self-love roadmap is self-forgiveness. The second step is self-acceptance. Then we have self-gratitude, self-care, and self-trust. So self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, self-gratitude, self-care, and self-trust. This is a framework that I use for myself on my own journey, and I also use in teaching and facilitating trainings, and I use with clients. It's simple, but very impactful. We're going to go into each of these 5 steps. I'm going to talk about the different practices that we do in each of them, the benefits of each of them. Today, I literally, right before this, was on a call with coaches in training talking about self-forgiveness and working through it. And so I'm coming into this call feeling really amped up about how powerful this is, because I just saw it in practice. So self-forgiveness is the first step, because if we're holding on to shame, if we're holding on to resentment, if we're holding on to, I should have done this, why didn't I do that? It's going to be really hard to access self-love. And self-love, is the most expansive, like magical pathway to finding your authentic power. Whatever is holding you back from self-love is holding you back from your most radiant life. When you're in a state of self-love, you are allowing yourself to be fully you. You're allowing yourself to show up and live your life's purpose. And you're allowing yourself to heal the parts of you that are holding you back. Not through shame, but through bringing love to the wounded parts of who you are. Because you deserve to heal, you deserve to be loved, and you deserve to give yourself love. And self-love means that we have a greater capacity to love other people, because I always say hurt people hurt people. So when you're dealing with your hurts, you are not hurting people, right? You're showing up with more love for others, more acceptance for others, more compassion for others. Let me know if this is resonating with you in the comments. So the reason why self-forgiveness is the first step is because we need to first identify the parts of ourselves that we're keeping shame towards, right? We need to identify, like, what is that opposite of self-love? It's that self-hatred, that shame. And then we need to forgive it. And within that, like, you have to forgive yourself for being perfectly imperfect. You have to forgive yourself for the things you've done. And this is tricky. You have to also forgive other people because it's the resentment that keeps us back, right? We need to heal the hurt so that we can access the self-love. And of course, this is a journey and a process. It's not like a one and done thing. Life continues to happen. As I've said, I've had the craziest, most magical, and also hardest things happen since I started my self-love journey, and also like doing this work professionally. And self-forgiveness is something that I return to again and again and again. But I was just talking about this on the training call. You might have heard the term neural pathways, maybe like something we talked about. I don't know. It depends on what school you went to. They should teach this in all schools, but you have neural pathways in your brain, right? Your brain makes connections. Your brain always wants to travel the easiest path. And so that's why we often have like repetitive thoughts where we do the same thing again and again. And so if we have the shame, the anxiety, the fear, right, we're doing it again and again. It's this vicious cycle. How many of you have had that cycle experience? By bringing self-love into it, by bringing self-forgiveness into it, we're creating new neural pathways to disrupt that cycle so that we can have this experience of something new. And we can't continue to shame ourselves into self-love. That's why we do self-forgiveness first. You cannot shame yourself. You can't be like, oh, like I have to love myself because I hate how I look in the mirror, but I'm not doing self-love enough. I'm not doing it right. We have to first start with self-forgiveness. It's like the blank slate. And we have to forgive other people for doing their best. This isn't to say to let people walk all over you or to hurt you. That's why boundaries are part of the work that we do, which is boundaries aren't about like keeping people out. It's about putting up the right space for yourself so the best of you can come forward. But self-forgiveness is the first step. And also that extends to forgiving others. It's deep work. One of the tools that we do in our self-love coach certification course is we look at the ways in which we have held on to experiences that are keeping us stuck in belief systems about ourselves, right? So I'm going to use the like super basic example that I shared of my personal lived experience of hating my body and disordered eating. My belief system was that I had to be thin in order to be loved, and like to look a certain way in order to be loved, and have the like ideal body type to be loved. And so I'm going to forgive that part of myself that thinks that. And I'm going to forgive the people who told me and demonstrated that to me, that was the way to be. I'm going to forgive myself for wanting to be thin. I'm going to forgive myself for treating my body horribly in an effort to look a certain way. right? And maybe you have your own things going on. I mean, for me now that work is I feel pretty at peace with it. And I have new things that I'm working on, right? It's a journey, but maybe you have something that you're working on. And right now, I want to invite you to place a hand on your heart and close your eyes and repeat in your mind or out loud, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. I forgive myself for being perfectly imperfect. I forgive myself for believing that I have to be a certain level of successful to be worthy. I forgive myself. And just notice how you feel doing that. You can open your eyes if they're closed. But we have in our training course, we do several worksheets. Today, in a call that I did, we did an inner child meditation, and it brought us to connect with the inner child, to bring love and compassion to the parts of ourselves that are wounded. And that was our act of self-forgiveness today. So there's so many different pathways forward, but even just the proclamation like you just did is really amazing. So let me know how that feels for you in the comments. All right, we're going to move on to the next step because I want to be able to do all of the steps and then put it all together. And I'm going to also be doing a fun giveaway too. Okay, so the second step is self-acceptance. And self-acceptance is, I think the first two steps are the hardest, self-forgiveness and self-acceptance, because it's accepting not only that you have had the life that you've had, that you've had the lived experiences that you've had, that you've been changed the way you've been changed by them, that you are who you are, but also, this is like the sneaky part of it. There's two sneaky parts. One of them is accepting that you are worthy of love unconditionally. It's accepting that you are worthy of the life of your dreams, right? It's accepting that you are an amazing, miraculous human being. So it's accepting, like, yes, you've gone through the hardship. Yes, you are, I'm going to use this in quotes because I don't really believe it, but like you're a flawed human being. You're perfectly imperfect, right? You have your things that you're working through. You have your things that you do that you're working on. And also, you're amazing. You're doing your best. You're so worthy of love. You're so worthy of pursuing the life of your dreams. You're so worthy of having a relationship and friendships that meet you where you're at. So the self-acceptance is also recognizing not just like you are who you are, but also like you are amazing. Okay, the other sneaky thing with self-acceptance is accepting, or really like no longer accepting these belief systems about yourself that aren't working for you, right? Maybe I would love in some of the comments, maybe you have a belief system about yourself. Like the belief system I shared in my example, my journey was I have to look a certain way to be loved, right? Maybe you have a different belief system, but let me know. So it's I'm no longer accepting that belief system. I'm no longer accepting that I have to look a certain way to be loved. I'm no longer accepting that I have to have a certain career to be loved. I'm no longer accepting that I have to be perfect in order to be loved, right? That's some of the self-acceptance work. So what does this look like practically? I find, so in the self-love coach training course, because we're doing an abbreviated version of that today, the first part. In the training course, we have several like worksheets and practices that we do. But one of them is really like, is actually writing down these belief systems and then reframing them in the way that I just did. So my recommendation to you, maybe you have a pen and paper, maybe you're on your computer, maybe you can write this down, because there's actually something that happens. I'm going to go back to like some of the technical, somatic, which means of the body, like your brain chemistry with this. There's something that happens when you write things down. So that really teaches it to your body, because you have this body brain connection. So I want you to write down, I accept that I am unconditionally worthy of love. And I want you to maybe write down your own belief system that you're no longer accepting, or that you are accepting. It's your choice, right? I accept that I had a childhood that taught me I had to look a certain way to be loved, right? I accept that I have had this self-sabotaging experience, but I am no longer accepting the belief system that I'm undeserving of love, right? I want you to write this down. So I see in the comments, yeah, I see somebody, this was sent to me in a message, so they're going to remain anonymous, but somebody said, I have to be perfect for everyone. Carling said, I accept that I'm unconditionally worthy of love. Yes, so beautiful. How does this all sit for you? Let me know. I hope it's exciting. Okay, we're going to move forward to the next step, which is one of my favorites, because in this self-love journey, when I'm working with clients, these first two steps, we're kind of unearthing things. We're looking at the difficult things. And then this is where things begin to kind of shift a little bit. And it's self-gratitude. So gratitude is like this all-purpose healing balm that, like, any pain, any wound, if you put gratitude on it, it'll like ease and soften. And it's so amazing in that way. But it's not going to be nearly as effective if we don't do the hard work first, right? That's why we do the self-forgiveness and self-acceptance. And then when we've unearthed all of this stuff and these belief systems and these experiences and these wounds and these parts of ourselves that are hurting, we can be like, ooh, here is the healing balm. And that is self-gratitude. And it's easy, right? Well, not for everybody, but theoretically it's easy to say, okay, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? So put in the comments what you're grateful for about yourself. And ideally, it's not something physical, right? Like, yes, you can be grateful for your hair or your smile, but I want you to get more into like your soul, right? So are you grateful for your resiliency? Are you grateful for your giving spirit? Are you grateful for your ability to find joy in heartbreak? Are you grateful for your responsibility and your reliance as a friend? What are you grateful for? So I see, I'm grateful for my compassionate and loving nature. I'm grateful for being so tenacious. I love that. I'm grateful for my kindness and loyalty. I'm grateful that my soul never gives up no matter what. I'm grateful for my intuitive gifts. This is beautiful. Yes. I'm grateful for the person I am today. How does it feel to claim that gratitude for yourself? I'm grateful for being open-minded to different beliefs. Yes, I'm grateful that God chose me, bringing some spirituality into it. Yes, notice how gratitude shifts. And obviously, like, this is not a new thing. It's very common, very popular in the personal development space to be talking about gratitude. I think the difference is here, the way we do it is that, as I said, we unearth all of the stuff, the like icky, dark stuff. And then we bring the gratitude on. Because if you're just doing the gratitude on top of all the stuff that you haven't addressed, it's not going to be as effective. It's just like a Band-Aid. This is like the deep healing, you know? So beautiful. I'm grateful for the work I've put into myself to love and accept who I am. I'm grateful that I can accept correct criticism. I'm grateful for my compassion after all the darkness it showed me, how I show up and make space for others. These are so beautiful. So, so beautiful. And gratitude can also be, it's not just like something you say to yourself, but the lived experience of gratitude is being in a state of appreciation for yourself and for the little things. So, this has been kind of circulating around a little bit in the personal development psychology community. The opposite of a trigger. So you know what a trigger is? It's like an experience that makes you anxious and you're like, oh my God, that was so scary, right? Triggers, brings you into a state of reactivity. The opposite of that is a glimmer. A glimmer is a little tiny micro moment. Maybe it's the way the sun is coming in. Maybe it's for me right now, it's hearing you talk about your gratitudes, right? It's like you step outside and you feel like the air on your skin. You're like, ooh, that's nice. Or you notice the moon, or you have your warm beverage in the morning, right? Whatever it is, it's that tiny little thing where you're like, oh, this is nice. That glimmer is just as effective as a trigger. It's just the opposite, right? That glimmer of bringing you into a state of appreciation. And we're going to talk about manifestation as this mini course goes on, but this is the pathway, because we know that what we focus on is going to be very important to our state of being. Right. So when we're not that we bypass, we do not bypass or try to avoid the hard stuff. Right. That's why we're doing the self-forgiveness work, the self-acceptance work. We're not bypassing. And also we need to make sure that we're continuing to move forward in bringing ourselves into a really beautiful, positive, loving state and carrying that grief with us when we need to. And the glimmers help us do that. So the practice for you with self-gratitude is looking for the micro moments and like allowing yourself, not just when you remember, like, okay, I'm going to practice gratitude, I'm going to do my journaling, right? But like to actually bring yourself into that is like a state of being. And when we talk about manifestation, you'll begin to notice more things to be grateful for. And then more things will happen because of that, because you're going to be actually acting from a state of appreciation instead of a state of fear. And that's how the manifestation works, is that you bring your mindset into a place of appreciation, and your mindset is in the place of like accepting, like, I am worthy of this. I am worthy of going after what I want. Then your actions are going to be in alignment with what you want to manifest. And then you end up getting to the place that you want to go. So let me know in the comments if this is resonating for you. Okay. Speaking of, in the self-love lifestyle retreat that I did in September, we had an in-person retreat. It was like a vision board, but water bottles. So this was the one that I did because I bought these fun little stickers and just a blank water bottle. So this one says, let all you do be with love. I have a moon. I have a little cherub angel. This one says, I am deeply loved by the universe, like my little micro moments. So now when I go to drink my water, I have this remembrance of like, yes, these are the feelings I'm cultivating, right? That's why I'm talking about, it's like the glimmers, these little states of beings, bringing the gratitude into your daily life through this practice. Okay, so we've done the self-forgiveness, the like, hard work, the things that I hate about myself, I'm going to forgive myself for. I'm not going to shame myself into change. I'm going to love myself into transformation. The self-acceptance of, okay, let's get the whole picture of where things are at, right? This is really like bringing self-awareness in. You cannot have the transformation that you want to have, the life that you want to have, if you are not fully aware of the ways in which you might be holding yourself back from it. So that's why we do this work first, the self-forgiveness, the self-acceptance. I'm accepting I've had the life that I've had. I'm perfectly imperfect. Here are the ways I'm holding myself back. I'm accepting all of it. And also I'm no longer accepting that I'm unworthy, right? I'm no longer accepting that I'm unlovable. So the acceptance. And then we've done all of that in our thing of stuff. We're bringing the gratitude in to focus on the beautiful parts of ourselves and our lives. No matter how traumatizing and challenging and dark it gets, we're looking for these glimmers, right? The next step, the fourth step, is self-care. And this isn't bubble baths or like spa days, though it can be for sure if you want to do that. It's really looking at like the whole aspects of all of the parts of your life, like a very holistic view, and looking at where you need to devote your attention to. So with self-care, we look at your home environment, your finances, your career, your friendships, your romantic relationships, your family dynamic, right? All of the aspects of who you are. How are you treating your body? Right? Like, what is your relationship to your hobbies? How much time are you spending like on technology versus like actually doing things that fill your cup? So self-care is, again, we're deepening that self-awareness, and then we're looking at all the areas of our lives to be, and yes, spirituality is a huge part of it. Feel, where do I need to actually devote my attention? Because we can neglect parts of our lives, especially when we have like a wounded inner child or a part of ourselves that is like not want to deal with it. It's too scary. It's too much. It's too much for me to think about changing careers when I've thought my whole life that I need to have like a regular job, right? It's too much for me to like break up with this person when I've been told my whole life my only goal is to get married, right? It's too much for me to try to move to a different place, even though I know that this living situation is toxic, right? It's, yes, especially if you have past trauma. But that's why we're doing the work of self-love, because we recognize like these things are hard. And how can you bring love to that? You know? So self-care is really being radically self-responsible and looking at what you need to do in your life to bring your life into alignment with your truth. What is your soul's purpose? And how can you live in alignment with that? What do you need to take care of in order to activate that within yourself? And how can you approach it from a really compassionate, caring place, right? We're not shaming ourselves for the trauma. We're not shaming ourselves for the resistance. We're looking at it from a place of love. Let me know if that resonates with you. So self-care, it's like the practical stuff in your life. getting everything in alignment. Yes, good. Oh, I love this. I'm glad this is resonating with you. All right, so we're on to the final step, which is self-trust. It's enigmatic. It's hard to put your finger on it, because for so many of us, especially, I'm going to like call it as it is, especially for people who are in demographics and groups who have been continually attacked and like repressed and all of that. The self-trust is hard because society has told you that you're not worthy, right? For so many of, I mean, we have so many women who go through this work, right? Even just being a woman, and there's always so many groups of different people, different backgrounds, different circumstances. But even just broadly, being a woman, right? Society has told you you need a man to protect you. You can't trust yourself. You're too emotional, right? So we need to undo that belief system, because the conditioning is going to keep you back. And it's even harder when you have other things in your, like, maybe it's, you know, an economic background or a geographic background or a racial background. Like, there are so many different factors that come into play about how society tells you who you are. And it's some people have more than others. I'm going to call it out. Like for some people, this work is going to be harder because society has been working against you in more ways. But you deserve to love yourself and you deserve to trust yourself. And so self-trust is hard, but it's worth it because with self-trust, you can remove yourself from those societal things, right? You can say, you know what? Like that's society telling me that, but I trust myself. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I see it was a direct message where somebody said, you need a man or you'll be alone. Yeah. Right. That belief system. But when you're in self-trust, you're like, that's not my belief system. Society might be telling me that, but that's not for me. It's not me. I trust myself. I trust myself. I trust my path. When you trust yourself to make decisions that are, instead of conforming to whatever society tells you to be or whatever your family tells you to be or whatever you think you should be, you're making decisions actually from your own authenticity, from your own soul's purpose. And we can only get to self-trust after doing all that other work. It's going to be really hard to get to self-trust without doing all the self-forgiveness, the self-acceptance, the self-gratitude, the self-care. It's like self-trust is what occurs as a result of doing that, because you are keeping the promises that you're making to yourself about, okay, I say that I'm worthy of having a career that I love. Okay, let's go to self-care. Let's look at what kind of jobs am I putting myself into? Like, how am I managing my finances? Like, am I being really smart about the way in which I'm approaching this so that I can set myself up for success? Am I reaching out for support when I need it? Am I taking a leap of faith, but am I doing it in a responsible way? You're asking yourself these questions, of course, taking it one step at a time, seeking out support, but then you're following through, right? Because if you're in your self-acceptance and you're saying, I'm no longer accepting the belief system that I need to have this type of job to be worthy of love, or that I have to have this type of career. Then by following through on that, you see what I'm getting to? You're getting yourself to a place of self-trust, right? You're following through on the commitment that you're making to yourself earlier on in the roadmap. So let me know how this sits with you. And let me know if you have questions. This is a great time for that because we're getting to the end of the roadmap. We're going to start tying all the pieces together. We're going to start talking more about things, but self-trust means that you trust yourself to get through anything. So as I said, like, I'm going to be vulnerable with you. I've had some really challenging, heartbreaking things happen in the past few years. The past few years have been the hardest of my life. When I first started doing the personal development work, I realized recently that I was trying to avoid trauma. I was trying to make my life perfect. And then I realized that that's not what this is about. It's about allowing yourself, because life is going to be hard. That's the human experience, to have the dark and the light, right? It's the human experience. We see it in nature. This is what it is, and what a gift it is to be in the human experience. And in that moment, in the moments of grief, in the moments of trauma, because of self-trust, I don't give up on the process, right? And I trust myself to get through it. I trust my resiliency, and I'm not shaming myself. I'm not adding more to the burden through the weight of hatred of myself or others. And instead, I'm coming from a place of trust. It makes it remarkably easier and more magical to carry life's burdens from that place. Because we're not going to be able to avoid the heartbreak, right? Loss is inevitable. We're going to lose people we love. And we're going to experience heartbreak and hardship. But when you're coming from a place of self-trust, you are able to manage so much more, and your capacity grows so that you can experience both the challenge and those little gratitude glimmers, right? You can be crying 1 minute, going through your grief, and then in a few more minutes, you're like, okay, I'm going to go outward. I'm going to be receptive to love. You're going to have the magical synchronicities and the signs happen and the meaning comes and you realize why this is all happening. These revelatory spiritual moments, those happen so much more easily when you're in this place. The pain becomes purposeful when you're in self-trust, which makes it easier and just more magical to move through. And then you're like, oh, the dark night of the soul, the challenge, I know that there's going to be a gift on the other side. So I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to go through it. I love this. So let me know how this feels for you. I see I'm actually, one of the comments says, I'm actually working on my own self-trust again. I had to reset myself, which is fine because the cycle is very different. Yeah. So beautiful. All right, recap. Self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, self-gratitude, self-care, and self-trust. When you move through all of these steps, which when I've worked with clients, this is a 6-month process. So of course I'm talking about this in an hour-long class, but this is a 6-month journey. And that's just to like get it in your body and your mind and to like understand it conceptually and lay the groundwork. But it's a lifelong practice. This is something I return to again and again and again, but it is a tool and a framework that will carry you through if you use it and you commit to it. And so in the self-love coach certification course, which we're enrolling for January 1st now, we go through, you have like 5 videos. So I do a whole training on each of the steps. So it's what we did today, except like way fleshed out with workbooks and everything. But then we continue to revisit it over the 7-month course. And you work on it in group and on your own journey. It's really amazing. So if there are any questions about the self-love roadmap, let me know. But I'm going to pause here. And I just want to encourage you to write these steps down. And maybe tomorrow or the next day, just begin to start to see if you can move through any of it. Maybe you start to look for the glimmers. Maybe you start to practice some self-forgiveness just when you start to notice yourself getting down on yourself for something. Maybe you say, okay, I'm going to choose to forgive myself. And you may not feel like you've immediately forgiven yourself, right? We know this. Like just because we say something doesn't mean it's happened. So a way that you can begin that process is just say, I'm choosing to forgive myself. I'm choosing to forgive myself. And you practice it again and again. Self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, self-gratitude, self-care, and self-trust. And as I said, you move through it again and again and again, but it is a framework. It is a tool that you can rely on now that you have forever. And the hardest part is just remembering to do it. So I'm going to encourage you to really tune into that for yourself. Okay. So I'm starting to see questions come in about this program. We actually have, let me see, I'm going to turn myself off of Spotlight. So we have one of our team members here who went through this training course, started her business, and then came back and helps facilitate the course, Carling. I hope you know I'm talking about you. Carling is here, and before I dive into all of the stuff about this course, and then we're going to do giveaway, and I'm going to talk about what we're doing tomorrow and Friday. But Carling, I want to hear a little bit from you as somebody who has not only gone through the course yourself, because you did it in 2021, right? Or did you do 2020, 2021? And then you've now worked with clients on it and those in our program. What are your 2 cents on the self-love roadmap? Oh, let me unmute you. There you go.
Okay, I was like, oh, it won't let me. Okay, hello everyone. So good to see each and every one of you here. And my 2 cents, I have a lot of cents on the self-love roadmap. I am so wholeheartedly in love with the self-love roadmap. I call it the self-love layers. And it's been so profound in my life and so profound in the lives of the beautiful souls I get to hold space for. It again, like what I loved, what Melanie shared, is it doesn't happen overnight, but that's what's so beautiful about this work, is that you really, really learn how self-love is a devotion. It's a lifelong devotion. And I find that the foundation of the self-love roadmap really sets you up for so much profound depth for your life, that you just get to keep coming back to these tools that are so supportive in all aspects and areas of your life. And so really ultimately we know that self-love is this big, beautiful, massive spectrum, and there's the polarity, right? Like Melanie mentioned, it's the shadow and the light and everything in between. And what I find with the self-love roadmap is it really, really offers you the opportunity to it's a deeper invitation into love through the shadow, through the darkness, and in the light, in the whole beautiful spectrum. So it's this beautiful reminder, it's this beautiful invitation, and it's how can I meet myself with love in each and every moment. So not just the moments we're celebrating, but the moments that are really, really challenging and that are asking so much of us, and moments that are earth shattering and heartbreaking, because we have those as humans in this human experience. And so this beautiful roadmap holds so much depth and just ultimately is this beautiful invitation and beautiful teaching on how you can bring your flavor of love into every single moment in the big beautiful spectrum. So I'm a heck yes. I'm a full body heck yes to the self-love roadmap, and those are a little bit of what I have to say about that.
Thank you so much, Carling. It's so valuable to hear from different people who've gone through this experience, because everybody's experience is obviously unique. And one of the things that I love about our program is that, of course, I started the program, but once I had trained people and saw that they were starting their own businesses and working with people, I was able to bring people back in as help course facilitate. And this was actually perfect timing because I got pregnant in 2021. So, so it worked out really well. And we have coaches who are really amazing in terms of the spiritual work. We have coaches who are Reiki masters. We actually have a Reiki training in the certification course that one of our graduates created for self-love coaches specifically. We have those in the certification course who are really adept at the business aspect of things. So it's incredible to have just this diversity in terms of what our team brings forward, because everybody has their own unique lived experience and their own specialties. Okay, so questions about the course. I put in the chat the link to enroll. So you all get to skip the application. You can enroll today because you've already started to do the work on our mini course. And it is ICF accredited, which really means like the International Coaching Federation watched our program and was like, yes, this is legit. So you can rest assured that we have that gold standard of approval. Okay, any questions about the certification course? Let me go over what's in it so that you know if you're going to sign up for it today. So it's a 7-month course. You are certified in the 6th month of the program after watching all of the video lectures. So you get new video lectures every single week of the program. And we cover so many, so we start with the self-love roadmap, but we cover so many things. We cover like the basics of mindfulness, meditation, journaling, energy healing. We talk about intuitive eating and body love and the like standards of self-care when it comes to nutrition and movement and all of that. We talk about spirituality, oracle cards, crystals, plant smoke cleansing, plant medicine, all of that. We do archetypal psychology, shadow work. It's really holistic. Everything, like we just cover body, mind, and soul, all of it. And we do all this comprehensive business training. So everything from the basics of branding, social media marketing, how to build a website. You get templates for building a website. You get like templates for your business cards. You get outlines for calls, how to do consultations with people, like what types of questions to ask in a coaching call. So you get all of the comprehensive video lectures, you get worksheets, 200 pages of worksheets that you can also use with your clients. At the end of the program, I give you all the worksheets on Canva, which is like a document processing. Well, it's also like amazing. It's just an amazing graphic design platform. But you can put your own branding on it and everything. So done for you program templates and worksheet templates. And then you also have 3 calls per month. So you get, this is something that's new. So you get 2 group coaching calls with me or a course facilitator like Carling. And you also get a community call. This is new to the class starting in January. So this is, I'm really excited for you. I'm not sure. I'm seeing there's a question coming in. I'm just not sure what that means. See if you can rephrase it another way. So we have the community call is the new part. So the community call is a call with everybody who's ever done the training. So we have hundreds of graduates. This is going to be an amazing place to network with people in different classes than you, and connect with community in a really beautiful way. So I'm really excited. So you get 3 live calls per month. So all the course videos, new course videos each week for 6 months, 3 calls per month, which is really amazing. And then upon completing the graduation requirement, which are watching the videos, doing the worksheets, we have a monthly assessment that is very low stakes, not a big deal, but doing the assessments. And then of course we have to see you coach. So you do a coaching demonstration. But upon completion of the graduation requirements in month 6, you do get a certificate as a certified self-love coach. And we are ICF accredited, and we have been, I found this out recently. I was Googling our program to try to find a web page in my website. I thought it would be easier to Google than go through the back end. I found out that we were ranked the top #1 self-love coaching program. We're the first. So yes, you can rest assured that this is an amazing program that we've put so much care into. We've been running it for years. I have a whole team now, and I've had hundreds of graduates. So I'm really excited. As I said, we have these 3 live calls per month. So in terms of the hours of the program, it is half live calls, right? And all of the live calls are recorded. So you don't have to attend them all live. You can always send me a question in advance. Or if let's say you're in the program and you're like, Melanie, I want to learn more about how to teach children self-love. I would dedicate one of our live calls to that, or a part of our live calls to that, to give you the resources that you need. So even though we have our set curriculum, you can always ask for what you need. And what's amazing is that, as I said, we have all of our course facilitators who have their own knowledge. So if you wanted to do work, you wanted to explore, your relationship to your sexuality, I'd be like, great, let's bring Carling on. Or if you wanted to understand more about marketing, I'd bring, Alicia on. Or we have so many amazing people. If you wanted to understand more about the esoterics and metaphysicals, I'd bring Ishpreet on. We have different course facilitators with the background, so you can really make the program work for you. All right, this was so fun. Thank you for being here with me. I hope to see you tomorrow. You have the link. I'm going to email you again all this, because the Zoom links are different each day. So look out for the Zoom link, and I'll see you there. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.